What is up, you guys? In today's video, I want to walk you through how to fix your unprofitable woodworking business. Let's dive in. All right, well, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the podcast. As always, I'm so glad that you're here. Just an FYI, this is episode 375 on the Handmade Business Secrets podcast. We have been in this game doing this for a long time, and we have talked about just about everything that you can imagine when it comes to building and growing a woodworking business. So if you're watching this on YouTube and you have not checked out the podcast, go check out the podcast and subscribe to it so you can listen to it while you're driving down the road or you're sanding on that thing forever. It's going to give you some tools that are going to help you grow your woodworking business, okay? So I want to talk to you about how to fix your unprofitable woodworking business. This is one of the biggest problems that we see of our clients that come into the Woodworking Business Accelerator program is that they come in and maybe have a flurry activity going on, but they're just not profitable. They're not making any money, right? And so there's a few things that I want to address in this video that are going to help maybe shift your mindset around some different things. Now, the first thing I want to say, and let me just caveat this, I've been guilty of this too, so I don't want to accuse you of anything because I've made these same mistakes, but so many times we will be doing something that we know isn't working, but then we'll argue about why we want to keep doing it. So I just want to encourage you, if you're watching this and you're like, man, this title is speaking to me, I have an unprofitable woodworking business, then be open-minded as I walk through these concepts, okay? Because you can justify and give 1,000 reasons why the way you're doing it is the right way to do it. But at the end of the day, if you have an unprofitable woodworking business, these are some tricks and some tips and some tools that are going to help you change the way that you operate, right? And so that you're actually bringing more money home at the end of the month. It's worth your time and energy to do it, okay? So the first thing I want to just say is that you need to probably quit selling itty bitty small things. If you're selling really small items that are $5, $10, $15, $20, guys, the hardest part of your woodworking business is getting a lot of people to say yes. And for you to make any substantial amount of money selling little itty bitty trinkets, you just have to get so many yeses that it just doesn't make sense economically, right? It's better for you to sell $1,000 items or $2,000 items or $5,000 items. And I know that it feels like, well, that's way harder to get a yes on those things. It is a little bit harder, but you can make 100 times or 500 times or 1,000 times your money, right? So it's way easier to sell expensive goods, okay? I will argue that until the end of time, because when I started my woodworking business, the very first thing that I did when I walked out into my garage, the first day that I started my woodworking business, is I built 40 blanket ladders, and I was convinced that I was going to be able to just sell like 5 of these a day. Well, I had those blanket ladders for a year, all right? I couldn't sell them. I was selling them for like 20 bucks, right? But when I transitioned to custom furniture and I started selling expensive goods, my business immediately started skyrocketing, okay? So that's the first thing. Second thing is that you need to evaluate and lower your costs for materials. A lot of guys that we talk to, they're just spending way too much money in materials. You need to be spending no more than about 30% in materials. So what does that mean? If I'm selling something for $1,000, I don't want to have more than $300 in materials in that product, okay? There's too many guys that you're selling something for $1,000 and you have $500 or $600 in materials. We don't want to have that much in material costs, okay? We want to have 30% or less in material costs. When I say evaluate and lower your costs, a couple different ways to do that is you need to actually be comparing the places that you buy your materials from. You need to be looking at how much can I get lumber from this guy from? How much can I get lumber from this guy from? Can I pivot from this type of lumber to this type of lumber? Guys, so many times, especially, I'll just say like a great example for me was here in the South, red oak is super inexpensive. White oak is pretty expensive. Walnut and maple are really expensive, right? Red oak is a really dense, really great wood. I can stain it for $10, but I can save $150 on a tabletop by, instead of using white oak, using red oak and using a stain that makes it look similar to white oak, or stains it whatever the customer wants, whether that's dark brown, light brown, white, gray, whatever that thing might be, right? So just pivoting to a less expensive product that still has a really high quality. We want to build nice, high quality products, but you can find ways to lower costs and still provide a good or a service that has a high perceived value and is a really great product, okay? So that's number 2. Number 3 is raise your prices, okay? We had a client that just joined our Woodworking Business Accelerator program, and he specializes in beds. Shout out to Jacob. Jacob's a great dude. He specializes in beds. That's what he builds. And I was asking, how much is a king bed? And his king bed is like $700. which is really, really, really affordable, too affordable. So I told him, I said, first thing that we need to do is you need to be selling these for $900 to $1,000, just right out of the gate. Let's just increase our prices by 20 to 30%. This month, his first month in the program, he did like $6,000 or $7,000 in sales off of $500 in ad spend. And then he did a ton of sales organically, landed this giant commercial contract. He did over $60,000 in total sales the very first month that we told him to increase his prices. Right? So sometimes we think that I got to just keep my prices low so I'll get sales. But sometimes your prices being low, people see it and they think it's too low. It's not a good product because it's too cheap. Sometimes you need to have more expensive prices just to make people think I'm buying something worthwhile, right? So immediately, that's an easy decision to make. I know it's a fearful decision to make because you're like, if I increase my prices, nobody's going to buy. That's not true, right? So raise your prices. That's number 3. Number 4 is increase your average order value. So we want to increase our average order value. This is a metric that we gauge and we monitor for all of our clients inside of the Woodworking Business Accelerator program on a month-by-month basis. What we want to see is we want to see all of our clients' average order value increasing. So what is that? What does that mean? How do we figure out what your average order value is? Well, that is on average, how valuable is every order that I get in the most simplest terms. So you take your total sales for the month divided by your total number of orders. So let's say that you did $10,000 in sales for the month and you had 5 new orders. Well, you take the 10,000 divided by 5, and that would give you your average order value for that month of $2,000, right? So how do you increase your average order value? So number 1 is you increase your pricing. So I'm going to sell the exact same products, but I'm going to sell it for 10 to 20 to 25% more, right? So that's the first way to increase your average order value. But the second way that a lot of people don't really tap into is to offer complementary products. Okay, so what do I mean when I say complementary products? So if you're selling dining tables, sell chairs and benches, right? If you're selling dining tables, sell buffets. If you're selling and you find that a lot of people that are buying from you are building new homes, well, you could not just be the table guy, but you could build the living room furniture. You can build all the bedroom furniture. You could build all the barn doors. You could build the porch swing. You could turn a $4,000 order into a $40,000 order real quick. Right? So increasing the average order value is one of the easiest things that you can do to really turn an unprofitable business profitable. Okay. Number 5 is to increase awareness around your brand. And this is one of the main things that we help everybody do inside of the Woodworking Business Accelerator program is that we give you a proven strategy to increase awareness, increase leads, and increase sales inside of your woodworking business. A lot of you guys are just still small enough that you're not really benefiting from economies of scale. I actually did a teaching on this inside of the Woodworking Business Accelerator program yesterday around how just increasing our ad spend just a little bit can dramatically double or triple our profitability inside of our business. So when it comes to increasing awareness, a lot of you guys just don't have enough volume to become profitable, right? So sometimes if you're just doing a few $1,000s a month, you're not going to be profitable because one mistake or one miscue, you ate up any profit that you're going to have for that month. But if you're doing 8 or 10 or 15 or $20,000 a month, you have more margin to fix mistakes or give a refund if you have an upset customer, those sorts of things, and still be profitable for the month. And then number 6, last thing I'm going to give you here, get faster and more efficient in the shop. Okay, one of the biggest killers to profitability is slow productivity. If you're working in the shop and it's taking you way too long to get stuff done, if you're super nitpicky, when it comes to sanding something, you could literally sand it until you sanded all of it away, until you sanded all the way through the tabletop and it just vanished. But why would you do that? So many times we'll do things that where it was good, an hour into it or an hour and a half into it, but at 3 hours, we're still doing it, right? And so you got to figure out, where do I start losing a return on my time? Okay, so with our business, for example, everything that we did, we would sand with 80 grit and then 120 grit, both with big gear-driven sanders, and then we would palm sand with 120 grit, and then we would apply a lacquer, pad that down, and apply a second coat of lacquer, and sometimes maybe a third coat of lacquer if it was a tabletop. And that's what we did. We didn't have to get the wood like sanded to 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000 grit or anything crazy like that because we're going to put a finish over it. As long as it was smooth and didn't have any rough spots, 120 grit can do that for you, right? So these are just simple principles that can help turn an unprofitable woodworking business profitable. Just to recap, Quit selling cheap and inexpensive goods. The hardest part about your business is getting a yes. So make every yes worth more money. Sell expensive items. Then evaluate and lower your cost of materials. Then raise your prices. Increase your average order value. Increase awareness around your brand. Run ads if you're not running ads, which I know you're like, well, that's an expense. That doesn't save me money. Well, it's not an expense if for every dollar you spend, you're making 10 or 12 or 15 or 20 or $30. Then it becomes just the machine that generates revenue for you. Then lastly is just get more efficient inside of the shop. So hopefully this video was helpful to you. Which one of these are you struggling with most? I'm curious to hear inside the comment section. Let me know which one of these is speaking the most to you and you think that maybe you might need to pivot inside your business. So just a quick recap on some resources for you. Number one is my free ebook, the first link in the description below. It's totally free to you. Just enter your name and your email. We'll send that over to you. It's about 100 pages long and really outlines my journey from going from zero in my garage to $70,000 per month inside of my woodworking business. Second resource is the Handmade Hero Academy program. Great program that I've developed for beginners, right? Guys that are trying to get in the game, trying to learn the basics of marketing and sales, building a brand. And then lastly is the Woodworking Business Accelerator program. If you're trying to really scale, really grow your business to 10, 20, 30, 40, $50,000 per month, be sure to check that out. Book a call. Call is totally free and there's no pressure on the call. We're here to just serve you, see if we're a good fit. We tell guys every single day that we're not a good fit if we're not. But if we can help you, we would love to have the conversation and see if we can help you achieve your goals, right? So with that being said, love you all, appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next one.